On the previous Forester build video, I showed you my bone stock automatic Forester XT. I've owned this Forester for about a year now, and it was time to start modifying it. But before I could get into modifications, I wanted to make sure it was reliable. The factory radiator had failed, so I replaced it with an all-aluminum Koyorad radiator. Then I stopped by J-Spec Auto, to pick up my full STI 6-speed drivetrain swap. At Andrewtech Automotive, we began swapping the drivetrain in. There's only 1 week between now and when this Forester has to be ready for the Florida to Alaska road trip that we did this summer. Both the front and rear subframes were removed. We installed new suspension, new brakes, new clutch, all new bushings, new CNC rear diff cover, and even a 2015 STI steering rack. We've really only just begun. We have all the mechanical aspects of the drivetrain swap completed, but now it's time to modify it a bit. I want to make some power improvements without sacrificing reliability, and the best way to do that is with Cobb's staged packages. So this is all of the Cobb parts that are going on the Forester. I've gotten everything that they offer basically for it, so it's going to be a full Stage 2 Plus. I have the access port for it, which is going to be very crucial in tuning it. We have the full intake system, we have the downpipe, we have the short shifter for the 6-speed specifically with the Cobb knob, a heat shield for the turbo, and I think some dress-up stuff for the engine bay. There's also an up pipe that's going to go on it, a down pipe, and then I'll have a catback for it. All of this is going to go on today, and I'll kind of explain, or Riyadh will explain, what each one of these things do as we install them, so you guys can get a little bit of information, if you don't already know, what some of these things do.
About to install a sweet Cobb up pipe to replace this janky OEM one that has a cat in it that's going to go straight into your turbo and blow it up.
For people that aren't familiar with Subarus, what is an up pipe?
An up pipe is the section of exhaust that goes from the exhaust manifold to the turbo.
So it's the pipe that goes up from the bottom manifold to the turbo.
Correct, yes.
That's why it's called up pipe?
It goes upward and is a pipe.
Nice.
So today we have the Cobb downpipe installation. It's going to be a little different than the OEM one. It's going to flow much more. The OEM one has about like a 2.25 inch opening, so somewhere around there. This is 3 inch with a huge bell mount that flows down eventually to a 2.5 inch. Still has a high flow cat, so we're good with carb regulations. In terms of install, it's pretty easy. Get a new gasket for the turbo side, and then we can reuse the OEM donut gasket here. We'll probably need an adapter because we're using a TurboXS Catback. We should be good to go. Okay, so the downpipe is done. We gotta put a heat shield on it. This one is not gonna fit anymore because the bell mouth is way too big. And normal people can't cut this easily, so Cobb has this wonderful heat shield for you. Comes wrapped up in laser fiber plastic still, so the stainless stays shiny. I'm gonna put it on now.
All right, so this should be short shifter stuff. This is a front shifter bushing, looks good. And there's like a brass fitting. The classic white Cobb knob. Ooh, that looks good. So this is the rear shifter bushing.
This is the Cobb rear shifter bushing. Runs a lot of slop from the forward movements because it keeps it in place bolted right here.
And that's the front, and then we have one for the back.
Well, this is the back one.
Oh, that's the back.
Yeah, this is the back one. The front one actually goes into the upper shifter assembly, so I'll probably put the short shifter in first and then put that one in on top. Oh, found it. Old one. New. Ooh, no flex. Just zone. Okay. Yep. Okay, we're installing the Cobb intake instead of this OEM intake. This pipe is actually corrugated in here. You can't really see it, but the Cobb one deletes that, makes airflow a little smoother. It actually makes this opening much larger so that you get more power and more efficiency. Actually, this is this plastic box which breaks all the time.
How much power are we gonna make?
Probably like 5 to 15 at the wheels.
These mods really aren't about making more power for me, because horsepower isn't the primary thing that makes cars fun to drive for me. This is about reliability, throttle response, sound, and aesthetic, and all of these Cobb parts should improve with that. It's a nice addition to the 6-speed swap. But this Cobb Stage 2 package isn't the only thing that I'm doing in addition to the 6-speed swap. I've already added the CNC rear diff cover, the 2015 STI steering rack, all the white line bushings, Brembo brakes, Spec C suspension, and a bunch of other small things. With all these modifications going on underneath the car, I think it's time to do some modifications to the exterior of the car. I've decided to replace all of my bumpers with JDM STI Forester bumpers that I bought from J-Spec. These JDM bumpers are more sleek and make the car look much more aggressive. There was a little bit of modification that I had to do to the bumper supports, but I think it's worth it.
Okay, so you can kind of see the difference in the two bumpers here. You can tell the US bumper is a lot thicker here than it is on the JDM one, and no bumper pad in the back. Also, you'll notice from the side, it's got a little bit of a different styling to it. This one's got a nice little cut there, while the US one doesn't. And then rear diffuser kind of thing is a little different on that one than it is on the US one. So I think the Japanese one looks a lot better, and that's what I'm gonna put on.
We have finished most of the mechanical work. We're going to start on all the electrical stuff now, which is pretty much the nitty gritty. Once that is done, we can turn key on the car. Starter relay. We have the vehicle speed sensor, the neutral safety switch. We got the reverse switch. We have a relay that goes into the starter relay that goes into another relay for the ECU to actually work, and it's an interlock system. But other than that, that's pretty much it.
Okay, so now I'm replacing speakers, since that's the only thing I know how to do, while Riyadh actually does the real work. So this is the rear door speaker, and it's very light. The magnet on the back is tiny. So we're gonna replace it with these, which is a little bit of a bigger speaker, bigger magnet on the back. Should be a little bit louder and a little bit more crisp, which when taking a long road trip, definitely gonna want that. So while I'm in there changing out some of the speakers and stuff like that, I'm taking out the window gussets on the front doors. It's a common problem with Foresters for whatever reason. The rubber on the window gussets, which is like the front half of the door, wears out, and it tends to like split apart right here, which gives it a lot of wind noise. Like, this is so worn out that it kind of sounds like the window's cracked a little bit when I'm on the highway and whatnot. You can actually hear the wind blowing by. The best way to fix it is to completely replace it. So this is a new one. They're like $70 per side, but you can visually tell that this is going to seal much better than the old one.
All the white line goodies are on, aluminum control arms, crazy wiring work is done from auto to manual, awesome 15 STI racks in, so
it's like almost ready to go out?
We are.
How much longer do you think until?
You have us working probably till tomorrow 7 in the morning. Yeah,
Okay.
So we're down, we're excited, we're having fun, AC's on, we're good.
Right on. Okay, so Cobb doesn't actually make a catback for the Forester, so I went up to TurboXS and we got ourselves TurboXS catback. So we're gonna go ahead and tear into this and bolt it up.
The one cool thing about the TurboXS catback, you can actually run the factory muffler on it, which is why they have these holes like this.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
that sleeper look.
Yeah, they're
Nice.
kind of smart.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I was wondering why there's 2 bolt holes there. Nice.
The car is almost done, just buttoning things back up and flashing the ECU with the new tune from TurboXS. In less than an hour, this car will be back on the road rocking a 6-speed. Kevin is mounting some summer tires to the wheels for that extra grip needed for the Florida to Alaska road trip. I'm going to be running Firehawk Indy 500s, since they're a great bang for the buck, and they're just going to get worn down a lot in the next 10,000 miles anyway. Francine the Forester is finally complete. It's running and driving under its own power. It's one alignment away from being roadworthy, and it's just in time, because tomorrow is the day that we start the Florida to Alaska road trip. I can't thank Andrewtech enough for the awesome job that they did on my Forester. I drove it for about 10,000 miles from Florida to Alaska and back. If you haven't watched our Florida to Alaska road trip series, I suggest you check it out. The only real issue I had on the trip was drivetrain clearance related, which was my fault since I bought the wrong drive shaft. All in all, this car is amazing, and I'm stoked for the new adventures to come. Francine the Forester will live on this channel as an ongoing project, because no car is ever complete.